Among the most impressive floating guests are Atlantic or bluefin tuna. It was once relatively common in Danish waters, but is now a rare visitor. It can be up to 3 meters long and weigh up to 680 kilograms. The tuna was then about 30 years old. It is a strong swimmer, can jump high in the air and has a perfectly slim body. It has very hard fins, a strong spine on both sides of the tail base and 9 to 10 small fins above and below the tail base, used for orientation. The color is dark on the back and light on the bottom. Tuna is one of the few fish species that can maintain a body temperature higher than the temperature of the surrounding water. Due to their higher body temperature and hydrodynamics, tuna can swim at speeds of 80 km per hour for shorter periods of time. When migrating, a fish is said to swim approximately 2,300 kilometers in 75 days. That is an average speed of about 30 kilometers per hour. Atlantic tuna are found in much of the Atlantic Ocean, on the European side from the North Cape to West Africa and on the American side from Brazil to Newfoundland. It is a pelagic migratory fish found in small shallows. Tuna are found from the surface to depths of 1,000 meters and prefer temperatures above 10 degrees. Ongoing research projects attempt to map tuna migration in the Atlantic Ocean using traditional fishing tags and advanced satellite transmitters. Preliminary results indicate that there are no reserves in the East Atlantic and West Atlantic as previously assumed, with only a single reserve. Thus, a tuna tagged in Cape Hatteras, USA, was subsequently caught in the Mediterranean off the Italian coast. In Europe, tuna spawn in the Mediterranean and Atlantic coastal areas off Gibraltar in June. Females give birth to up to 10 million small eggs, which is not much for a large fish. So, although the size of the fish is very large, the eggs are only about 1 millimeter in diameter and are therefore among the smallest fish eggs.
It's not attached, just FYI.
Yeah, I saw.
Ready?
The eggs float near the surface for 2 to 3 days, before approximately the 4 millimeters long larvae hatch. Tuna grow very quickly. After a year they are already about 50 centimeters long. After 3 to 4 years, they are 90 to 120 centimeters long and weigh 15 to 25 kilograms. After 4 to 5 years, tuna become sexually mature and reach a weight of 30 to 40 kilograms and a length of 120 to 140 centimeters. Tuna has a diverse diet. They sometimes eat small fish and plankton sifted from the water through the gillnet bars. Other times, a school of tuna attacks other pelagic fish such as herring and mackerel. It can get very violent. Tuna do not pump water through their gills like most other fish, but swim with their mouths wide open, so-called ventilation. In Denmark, tuna was formerly caught in August and September in connection with large mackerel migrations, figures 12 to 94 and 12 to 95. Over the past 50 years, tuna fishing has been very active in all the world's warmer seas. This has led to overfishing and stocks of various species have plummeted, which perhaps explains the decline in the number of species in our waters. Tuna fishing in Denmark peaked in the period 1950 to 1955 with an annual catch of 800 to 2,000 tons but has now completely stopped. The predation that is carried out on tuna today has resulted in many species being overfished or outright predatory. There are also problems with bycatch, that is, species other than the tuna that must be used, for example sharks and sea turtles, are caught in the giant nets or bits on the kilometre-long lines with hooks. In giant catches, there is also no distinction between whether tuna of the skipjack species, which regenerates itself faster, are caught, or whether many of the yellowfin tuna species, which take many years to regenerate themselves, are caught. The tuna industry is a jungle to find head and tail in, and it is, on the whole, at this point, not worth supporting. I therefore recommend that consumers stay away from tuna, unless there is a 100% guarantee that it is a sustainable catch, and that guarantee is hard to come by. Tuna is the world's most valuable fish and is therefore in high demand.
Pas på Lars, eller Niklas Døbhold, ja. Så blev den sur.
In the rich country's own waters, the seas are about to be emptied of tuna, so predatory fishing is carried out on the coasts where the tuna live in the best of health, for example off the coast of Mozambique. In Africa, the fishing fleets themselves have to report to the African fishing authorities where and what they catch, but since the reports are self-imposed and not controlled, there is really no control over the catches. The resources are gushing out of Africa, economy that could help make Africa better. It is a vicious circle which helps to keep the developing countries down, because they do not get the opportunity to develop their own fishing industry or get the profit from the many tons of fish. Aquaculture Stewardship Council is a new independent labeling scheme for environmentally and socially responsible farming of fish and shellfish, also called aquaculture. ASC is still in development and it is expected that you can start finding ASC products in stores in late 2011. ASC will ensure that fish and shellfish are raised in a responsible manner in relation to the surrounding environment, as well as the local population, and the use of antibiotics, nutrients and additives is limited and controlled.
Er du klar, Niklas?
Den skal bare stå med den her. Det er sygt.
In addition, the feed for the farmed fish must come from sustainable, wild-caught fish caught at sea in non-overfished areas and according to international guidelines. Danish canned tuna comes from all over the world's coasts and you, as a consumer, unfortunately cannot know anything about where or under what conditions the tuna was caught. If the canned tuna is MSC labelled, you can be sure that it is from fully grown tuna, is not caught in areas at risk of extinction and that the local ecosystem has been taken into account during the catch. Christoph Matheson, Program Manager for Fisheries and Aquaculture, World Wildlife Fund. Tuna fishing is one of the most economically important fisheries in the world and it entices fishermen and authorities to think extra short-term and profit-oriented.
Hvad sker der for kaptajnen? Nu er der briller og hat og helt lortet. Ej, den er stor, mand. Den er større. Så skal I bytte nu, eller hvad? Vær klar til at slække, Ever.
Jack, albacore and to some extent yellowfin tuna are used for canned tuna and these species are better off, although most stocks of yellowfin tuna are overfished and overexploited. Misreporting by fishermen, overfishing and lack of transparency in the supply chain from sea to table make it really difficult for consumers to see what they are buying. We are working on better traceability and ask supermarkets and tuna suppliers to find out where they get their tuna from, where it is caught and packed. But the clarification work often stops at the processing series. Unwillingness is accompanied by obscurity. The fishing takes place over large areas and it can be difficult to keep an eye on the large quantities of fish that are landed in different ports or moved from ship to ship without sufficient reporting. MSC labeled tuna is the only one we can recommend, so look for it in your supermarket. I myself buy MSC tuna in my local Irma, and there are large suppliers in Denmark, e.g. Amanda Seafood, which aims to deliver only MSC labeled fish before 2012.
Bare pas på, vi ikke Lasse, hvis du måske også går derover, når jeg går ud til siden, ikke?
Ja.
Ja, jeg tror bare nu. Nej, den er sød. Ja, vi skal lige helt op.
Sejle. Så nu
Jæver.
er det tæt på at være der.
Jæver.
Det er en flot navn.
Den er.
Jæver.
Finally, the bluefin tuna hunting scene on the water was filmed. There have long been rumors that they may soon return, as many of the other fish they feed on have returned in large numbers. There were reports last year and this year from yachtsmen of sightings of schools of hornfish and mackerel flying into the air, followed by wild splashes, long fins and big fish. Real fish greatness. The Atlantic tuna we are talking about can weigh up to 680 kilograms and became 3 meters long. Let me say right away that I have not personally caught bluefin tuna or anything of similar size. I've never tried big game fishing, even though I'd love to. But I have read about this fish on some American websites. I think you can learn some tricks from some people who are used to catching these giants, because we can do it from Denmark. They are anyway already here. We just need to be extremely lucky with the numbers we have. But maybe in the coming years we can start actually catching them, and then you might as well pack the ull fishing rods together, because what most of us have in our tackle boxes is ull when fishing for tuna. Fish can also swim 80 kilometers every hour, or in other words, empty your coil in just a few seconds. As with all fish, there are countless different methods. You can, for example, fishing or spinning, or why not use floats with larger fish such as whiting, mackerel or big fat herring. When fishing for tuna, this is serious, and gear needs to be checked. The spool must be very tight, so that the thread can be pulled out with one hand. If the tube is too loose, the tuna will release in just a few seconds. Too tight and the fish will break the line immediately. Conductor, 40 to 80 kilograms. Mainstream fluorocarbon, 50 to 90 kilograms. Synthesis line, hook size, 8 over 0 to 9 over 0. Rod, 7 to 8 feet stiff with soft tip. Scroll, get the biggest and strongest available. Catch it with bait or spin the fish with wobblers, just like we know from mackerel. There are good visual signs of tuna. Look for large splashes the size of a Volvo and baitfish fleeing the water in panic. Look for hairs on the surface that pull away, like when a school of tuna swims quickly just below the surface. Look for flashes of blue and silver below the surface, also just inside the boat. Tuna echo sounder when observing a school of predatory tuna. You should avoid running at full speed right on their heels. Instead, row forward so the fish will pass your boat once you've got your rod. Now the bait can be thrown out in front of the shallows and your chances of hooking are great. Some optimal equipment for tuna fishing, like small mackerel, we can fish for flounder with floats. Just a slightly larger model can hold a large fish without sinking. Use a very large hook size 8 over 0 and thread it through the nose of a live mackerel, herring or fatty white fish, and then it just needs to be brought out in front of the shoal. It can be done simply. If the tuna are being hunted, you are guaranteed not to even need to skin them. Many people advise placing a float 8 to 10 meters long, but if they swim completely on the surface of the water, I will probably put bait on it too. You can also easily roast the fish for tuna. If you anchor the boat to let the school swim past, you put the bait in front of the shallow beach, so the bait moves away from the tuna, not towards it. Tuna are not used to that. You can use a variety of large wobbling knives, etc. Ink imitations seem to be very popular. We have something to look forward to if tuna continue to increase in numbers in our waters. Some gear is a must-buy if you don't want to be moved in the middle of the day when you first encounter it. Prized by foodies and loved by nutritionists, tuna are among the ocean's most remarkable foods. Amazing as they are, there are many types of tuna, and they're all very different to each other. So how do you make a good tuna food choice? That's exactly what you'll learn today. A close-up of 2 tuna steaks grilled rare with lemon on the side. Contrary to popular belief, tuna are not a single species, but an entire group of fish containing over a dozen different fish. However, out of all the types of tuna in the sea, only 5 make for a regular food option, at least in Western countries. These are skipjack, albacore, yellowfin, bigeye, and bluefin tuna. Each of these 5 tunas boasts a different texture of meat, a different color, and different taste. Thanks to these characteristics, certain species are better suited for meals like salads, while others are perfect for steak or sushi. The variety doesn't stop there, however. Some types of tuna are harder to come by than others. This can cause some wild price differences between them. Let's see how these 5 tuna species stack up. Tinned tuna in a bowl on a table, with a tin and herbs next to it. Small in size, and dark in meat color, skipjack tuna are your most commonly canned tunas. In fact, over 70% of the US canned tuna market comes from skipjacks. Their meat texture is tender, allowing for small chunks, perfect for canning. The taste of skipjack tuna is strong, and often described as fishy. When you see "chunk light" on the can, chances are that you're looking at a can of skipjack. Thanks to their relatively short life cycles, skipjack tunas reproduce very early, 1 year old. This means that when they're caught, it's likely that they've already spawned at least once in their lives. Because of this, skipjacks are an abundant species, with no foreseeable risk to their stocks. A close-up of white canned albacore tuna on a white plate with herbs beside it. Albacore are the second most canned variety of tuna in the US, taking up around 20% of the market. Often dubbed white tuna, albacores boast light flesh and a very mild flavor. They come in larger chunks in comparison to skipjacks, and are generally a more pricey option. Their meat holds together nicely, which makes them a good choice for grilling, as well. One concern with albacore tuna is that their mercury levels are 3 times higher than that of skipjacks. For this reason, the Environmental Defense Fund suggests a limited intake of white tuna. Conservation-wise, albacores are still found in good numbers globally. 2 grilled tuna steaks on a plate with some salad. Pale pink and mild in flavor, yellowfin tuna are probably the most versatile tuna food choice. You can find these fish in cans, as well as in the form of steak and sushi. In the US, yellowfin is a popular sushi option for a couple of reasons. 1. It doesn't come with the premium price tag of bluefin tuna, but still offers plenty of value for the money. 2. Its meat is a lot leaner and milder tasting than bluefin and bigeye, whose fat content contributes to a much more pronounced taste. In most cases, yellowfins come in the form of tuna steak, and you can often find them in restaurants for a relatively fair price. If you prefer to cook yellowfin on your own, you'll have no trouble finding them in a supermarket or seafood store. Go out and catch your own yellowfin. Not only will you experience an adventure on the water, but you'll also have a fresh, sustainably caught fish to enjoy afterwards. Fresh tuna sashimi, one of the most popular types of tuna, laid on a plate with chopsticks holding one piece. Large and stout, bigeye tuna boast bright, firm meat, with loads of flavor. These fish are a great option for people who prefer fatty, flavorful fish, but don't want to shell out a ton of money to get it. That's not to say that bigeye are cheap. A good piece of restaurant bigeye sashimi can go for over $20.
Suka kali itu kalau itu Itu. Kadang-kadang gue goreng pakai tepung terigu kan. Ya. Keras sekali itu kalau bangun.
Still, when you consider that bluefins often cost 4 times as much, paying for a big eye sashimi sounds like a bargain. In recent years, big eye tuna have come under risk of overfishing, and as a result, the IUCN has listed them as vulnerable. If you do choose to buy a big eye steak in the supermarket, make sure to check the label to see if it's being caught in a sustainable manner. A chef cutting a large piece of bluefin tuna, the most expensive type of tuna in the world. Bluefins are widely regarded as the kings of the tuna family, and rightfully so. Thanks to a number of physical attributes, bluefins boast a richness of flavor you just won't find in another fish. Bluefin tuna are almost exclusively found in the form of sashimi. You can find them in high-end restaurants, where a single piece can go anywhere from $20 to $200. These fish are especially popular in Japan. So popular, that local restaurants are willing to pay millions of dollars